Welcome to Shade and the City. I'm your girl Treese, and of course, I'm here. I got over whatever I needed to get over. Okay, and I'm here to do Beyond the Gates, season 1, episode 98. This is Friday's episode. Um, yeah, I got my wine, I got my incense, I got my diffuser going. It's just I needed all the therapeutics, okay, to come up here and give y'all this. All right. But yeah, y'all, well, anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed it despite our disappointment. I think overall our disappointment, and based on what I seen on X and Blue Sky, all of us felt the same. Okay. So yeah, y'all. I appreciate you being here. If you have not already, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you new viewer and you feeling the vibe, please go ahead and subscribe, okay? And sulk with us. All right. But yeah, y'all. So let's get into this episode and let's get shady. So we kick off this episode. We see Nicole and Danny. They've run into each other at the country club, and Danny lets her know that, look, I was actually on my way to check on you. And so Nicole starts filling Danny in on the fact that Leslie done filed a report saying that, she went upside her head, went oops upside her head. Okay. But Jacob, fortunately, I don't know how fortunate you were, but fortunately, he was the one investigating it. And so he made it go away, even though I don't think you realize, Nicole, it wasn't Jacob that made it go away. It was the DA. Jacob would have had your ass in jail. All right. And so Danny is still having, trouble processing the fact that Nicole done choked somebody out. All right. And she says, that sounds like something I would do. And I said, well, that does. And but she loves hearing it. So then Nicole explains how she went off on Bill as well. And so Danny asked her, well, how's Martin doing? And she lets her know that, Martin and his family are really going through it right now. So she has Tyrell and Samantha, the smarty kids, meeting her at the country club for some one-on-one time with grandma. Okay. So then, of course, the smarty kids show up and Nicole is trying to reassure them that, look, despite everything that you and your parents are going through, y'all gonna be all right. So then Samantha was like, well, actually, grandma, what we would really like is if you would, basically talk to Smitty and tell him to let Martin come back home today. And Nicole said, look, Smitty got a reason to be mad at Martin. And therefore, I don't want to get involved because they need to work that out among themselves. So Tyrell is explaining that, look, we understand the story that our parents gave us, but we don't feel like it's the whole story because Jacob showed up at the house at least 3 times after Smitty asked Martin to leave. And so he said he feels like they're leaving something out, and so is grandma. All right. And so he mentions that Martin came home that night and he spent a lot of time talking to Smitty and he didn't include them like they normally do. And I said, that's part of the problem. It didn't need to include you. Okay. And so Nicole tells the smarty kids that, look, when things are confusing as they are right now, and I'm sure she can relate, it's easy to think that, everybody's keeping everything from you. Okay. But she reassures him that everything your parents have told you is out of love. And we all want your parents to get back together. And that should be the goal, not any of these other distractions. And of course, you just see Samantha and Tyrell kind of exchange glances like, she playing in our face, ain't she? Oh, okay. Clock it. Okay. We see what grandma doing. Okay. So now Chelsea and Kat are in their workspace, and Chelsea wants to know, because Kat is off and you can just tell her energy. And so Kat explains how she's tired of Eva. And Chelsea said, well, look, I need you to get over it because you know what? She's always going to be attached to Ted. And Kat was like, y'all won't even talking about Eva. You know what I'm saying? And well, actually, she said, no, I won't even talk about my daddy. I was talking about Tomas. And so she fills her in on how she caught Tomas in Eva's hotel room. And she tells Chelsea, if I would have gotten there later, I'm sure they would have been doing more than reading books. Okay. But however, Kat seems to think that this is Eva being manipulative. And she ain't gave Tomas no smoke, right? And so Chelsea was like, well, what does that mean for you and Tomas now? And so Kat said, I'm not sure, but you know what? I ain't about to gift wrap him and put him into Eva's hands. And I said, girl, he is not the prize by any means. Let me tell you and Eva, okay? Tomas, tomatoes is not the prize. All right. So then Chelsea being the bad friend, giving bad advice. And I wanted to say, Kat, weren't you just sitting at a table with Chelsea literally like yesterday and was talking about how questioning whether she still had feelings for Allison or not? I'm just confused why you would be taking love relationship advice from somebody who falls in love in 5 days. I'm sorry, 2 days, 48 hours, the first 48. And now look what you have on your hands, and you might end up on the first 48. Okay. So so of course she hypes, she hypes Kat up, and she's like, you know what? Eva ain't got nothing on you. If you want Tomas, you can have him. And so this makes Kat end up calling Tomas, which really pissed me off because I was like, first of all, he's the one that was up in Eva's room. Why are you not letting him reach out to you? Again, he is not the prize, but you were damn sure making him feel like he is. And so she tell him to come over because they obviously need to talk. And I was like, see, you're already doing too much. Already doing too much. Okay. So then we cut to Bill at his office. He's been on a conference call for a long time. Haley shows up wanting to, you know, pick and prod and ask questions, what she does best. And but Bill completely ignores her and basically said, I ain't got time for it. I'll see you later. So then this to me was made, I don't want to say made Friday's episode, but it tickled me. I loved it. And I'm sure all of y'all did too. So June is back, right? We see June and Naomi down at Orphe Jeans, and she's demanding, she being all rude to the waitress. She's like, excuse me, ma'am. We ready to go, okay? And you holding us up. We got places to be, people to see. And I was like, under the underpass? Is that what I'm gonna let it go. All right. So but she offers to pay for the check. And so then she pulls out what I consider to be monopoly money, but some people on the Twitter said it's too big to be monopoly money. All I know is I'm about to go get some and see if it worked. Because I'm planning to go out and eat tomorrow. So I'm gonna see if it worked. And if they let me slide like they let June slide. Because to me, it wasn't given that anybody was accepting that over here in the US of A. All right. Now, Naomi said, oh, well, you know what, June? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm gonna take care of the tip, okay? And so, of course, she ends up actually paying for the bill. So then she's, starting to look at this picture, and Haley conveniently walks in, interrupts, and said, Naomi, I really need to talk to you. And I said, oh, so you rude too. And so her and June just kind of exchange glances, and June, decides that she's gonna scurry off and go back to meet whoever she need to meet, right? Because she got people to see. But I feel like they did this for us because, and we all speculated like, oh, maybe Haley had some connection to June. Maybe that's a mama. Maybe that's a cousin. Where we were all trying to figure out what was the purpose of June and who does she belong to. And so I feel like they did this for us basically to show they don't know each other. So whatever y'all thought y'all was on, that's not what it is, basically. But y'all tell me if y'all picked up on that or not. Naomi said, look, all right, Haley, you need to make it quick because Jacob's on his way. And so Haley said, well, look, I definitely need to make it quick because I got, I feel like somebody close to us did something criminal. And so she said, did your daddy unalive somebody? And Naomi said, that's your husband. And if you feel like that, you should probably go talk to him. I was so here for it. I said, yes. Yes, that's your husband, the one that you took from my mother, that you slept. Yeah, my daddy. Yeah, that's your husband. Okay. And basically says that if Bill ain't talking to you, that's your problem, not mine. Okay. So Haley starts doing what she does, but I can't believe that at one point we used to be friends. And Naomi had said, yeah. What you should go talk to your husband. Okay. I'm gonna keep saying the same thing. So Haley was like, well, I feel like Bill is trying to protect me, but I really want to know what's going on. And Naomi said, okay, so what's making you suspicious, Haley? Let me entertain your bullshit. All right. And so Haley tells her, about Nicole showing up at her house and confronting Bill. And she feels like, ever since then, he's been avoiding her. And so she's like, please, Naomi, please tell me what's going on. And Naomi said, look, even if I did know something, it's not my place to share it with you. So Haley's like, you know what? But I have a right to know as Bill's wife. And Naomi said, and that's not up to me. She said, and she also reminds Haley that this is your marriage. And if Bill has something that he thinks you should know, then he'll tell you. And if they can't be open in their marriage, then that's your problem. Again, not mine. I said, I loved every minute of it. These Duprees can read, y'all. So Haley's like, oh, well, I know Bill may have been a hard businessman, but he's not a criminal. And I refuse to believe that he can be involved in an unaliving. And so Naomi said, look, first of all, you've only scratched the surface with who my daddy really is. And he's very complicated. And he's only going to allow you to see what he wants you to see. So Naomi warns Haley, look, he got very deep layers. And all of them are not pretty. So Haley is still trying to figure out what Naomi is saying without saying it. And so finally she's like, you know what? I just want to know what's going on. Naomi reiterates to her again that, you know what? You need to go ask Bill. And she gets up and leaves. Okay. So now we see Pamela and her accent. She's at Danny's house. Okay. They're going on about Martin and his strange press conference. And so she said, when I heard about a family emergency, I had to come check up. And, Danny brushes it off. But Pam clocks, okay, so why you sidestepping the question? So I love when Danny claps back at her and said, what did I tell you about reading too much into things? And I said, that means stop asking. Okay. So Pamela said, all right, I'm going to back off. But, I'm here if you want to share. So then Danny tells her to look, Martin and Smitty, they going through a rough patch, and we all hopeful that they're going to work it out. So Danny says, they love each other very much. And, love doesn't go away just because your husband disappointed you, even if you wanted to. And we all know she's talking about Bill. And so then Danny's like, why are you really here? And so Pam shares that she has news. And so she lets her know that she's been making calls and taking meetings about Danny going back into modeling. And she said, that you are what the industry wants, girl. Okay. You are her. Okay. And so they have two fashion houses that are competing for her to sign an exclusive contract. So Pamela's trying to get her to see that, look, we really need to do this to get this agency off the ground. So she pulls out the contracts and tells Danny, pick the number that you like, whatever you like. Okay. And Danny is having a moment of, self-doubt. And she, because of her age, and she's like, my body ain't the same. And Pamela does what she does best and speaks life into Danny, which is why I do love Pam. Not so much her accent, but this is why I love her. So then she basically gets real with Danny. Another reason why I love Pam. And tells her, look, you didn't quit modeling because you wanted to. You did it because you wanted a man, and he wanted you off the runway and on his arm. And so she said, you put yourself second to Bill's career, and now it's time to put yourself first. And I said, good job, Pam. You're always a good friend, even though that accent bothers me. Everybody need a Pam. Danny tells her, look, I'm still not sure. And so Pamela said, that's good. Because you know what? I called for backup. And so then we see Andre up here ready to do this whole photo shoot. And so Danny, of course, is reluctant, but Andre and Pamela are able to talk her into it. And of course, Danny does what she does best when she's behind the camera and she turns on. And so once finished, Danny, is still having her doubts. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to still need time to think. And Pamela said, girl, think all you want. Well, I'm waiting for the pictures to come back. And so she excuses herself. And then, of course, Danny and Andre decide they're going to do an adult photo shoot. Tomas shows up. Tomatoes. Okay. Tomato. All right. He shows up and Chelsea decides to leave to give them some privacy. So he admits that, oh, I was surprised to hear from you. Yeah, because you should have been calling her. It's giving Tiny Ted energy. And you know how they say a woman will always or usually find someone that reminds them of their father. I hope this is not the case. Because you put no effort to get in contact with her. Anyway. So he claims he didn't reach out because he needed time to figure out what he was gonna say. Sound familiar? So Tomas tells her, look, I ain't sleep with Eva before or after that you got there. And Kat said, look, I know what the vibe was. And said, please don't insult my intelligence by denying it. And so Tomas claims, look, I'm not gonna confess for some I ain't do. So Tomas goes on a tangent about how he feels bad for Eva and thinks she hasn't been given a fair chance by the Duprees. And this is when the well would have run dry. Because you talking about how, oh, and yes, we'll get into that. Did she spend a lot of time talking about Eva when she was supposed to be spending time with you? Absolutely. But what you're not going to do is now spend this time defending the half sister you know I don't get along with, don't like, and I know she like you. Make it. Yeah, I was just so irritated. So irritated. But let's keep going. I'm going to get through it, y'all. Let me breathe in my meditation scent. Okay. All right. So then I love when Kat has to remind him that that viper in ugly boots, which happens to be Eva, infiltrated her mama's house while plotting to destroy her parents' lives. And I said, okay, do you remember? Okay. And so she asked him, look, I'm going to need you to be honest about your feelings for Eva. And if you tell me now, maybe we can consider a friendship. And so Tomas tells her that he and Eva are just friends. But then, of course, he flips it on Kat and says his feelings have never been in question. And, oh, it's not me, Kat. And he said, really, I've always questioned how you felt about me. Kat is like, what are you talking about? And so he claims, well, we're not exclusive and we never really discussed it. And I don't know where we stand. And so she said, no, remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Okay. When I was up here trying to get it on and was undressing and you was like, no, 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 no. That's what you told her. Okay. And it never turned into, yeah, 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 yeah. It never happened. All right. You left without any explanation. And you know that. Tomas said, well, you know what? I don't know if you really like me or if it's because you think that Eva likes me. And so Kat said, what you not going to do? She said, I'm a little insulted by that you think I want to keep you just to spite her. So he said, look, I've tried to talk about our relationship and we always end up talking about Eva or Leslie and her revenge. And I hate it. I hate it in this moment to have to tell Tomas he was right. And princess, don't get on me. Spare me. Okay. But I got to call a thing a thing. I hold everybody accountable here. Okay. I've been said, Kat don't even seem like she into this boy. Literally every time she's with him, she is talking about Leslie or Eva. So I got to give Tomas his things. Now, however, if you really felt that way and that she was that disinterested, then that's when you could have moved on. Because it's not like he hasn't said this before. That's why I said I can't. That was the one thing that I got to give him. Okay. So Kat admits that, from his perspective, she can see how it would appear that way. She blames, always pivoting to the Eva or Leslie situation as an excuse to keep her from, saying the right thing. Nobody has ever made her feel. She said, the way you make me feel, the way you make me feel. I'm sorry. No happy songs. I apologize. She said she never felt this before. Never knew love like this before. Sorry. And so sometimes that can be a little scary for her. She said, look, I'm crazy about you, okay? But as much as I care, I refuse to be the point in a triangle with you and Eva. And I said, yes, girl. And Catherine, I wish you would have stood 10 toes down. And so Tomas lies and said, oh no, you're the center of what I want. You're my moon, my stars, the mountains and the rivers. And then, of course, they did what they do. They had sex. Okay. And we were all cussing at the screen. And then, of course, we see Kat with this really regretful look afterwards. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe he was a 1 minute man. I don't know. I don't know. But she looked really regretful. But the one thing, and I am not happy this happened. Princess, do not tomato me in the comments. Actually, she'll actually come and DM me and tell me how pissed off she is. But I know it's not what you want to hear. I'm throwing the line out there. Maybe it's gonna be Cat's baby that Haley takes. I just, there gotta be a baby coming from somewhere. Somebody gotta be the layaway baby mama. So we need to figure out who it's gonna be, okay? Because it's not Naomi, where she's off the list. Maybe it's some strange, I don't know, some strange person, but I'm starting to think. And I would hope, and being honest, I would hope that they would make Kat pregnant. That is not what I'm looking for in a relationship with an F boy, and now she got a baby by him. I absolutely do not want to see that on my screen. However, it's the soaps, and you never know. So y'all let me know what you think. I know you're gonna tell me I'm reaching, but somebody got to do it. All right. So let's move on to Jacob finally makes it to Uptown, and he tells Naomi that he got some news. So he shares that he had one of his fellow officers do a reverse search on the number that she found on June's photo. And so they now have an address. So Naomi wants to go find out, what the person's relationship is to June, but she worries because the other person on the line the other day clearly didn't want to be disturbed and wasn't very friendly. Okay, wasn't very welcoming. And Jacob convinces her, nah, it's okay, to investigate because, June don't know you doing it. So go ahead. I do it. It's for the good. And we love doing good. Okay. And so Naomi then realizes, oh shit. So the address is only about an hour away. So I was like, she must live in like Virginia, like Richmond or something. Or maybe she lived further up. Maybe she lived like Philly or something. Maybe Baltimore. She's an hour away. Maybe she's in Baltimore. Anyway. So Jacob said, well, do you want me to go with you? And Naomi's like, nah, she insists on going by herself. She don't, want to put them off too much, whoever gonna be on the other side of the door. But she admits that she's anxious to find out who these kids are in this picture. Okay. So I said, so are we, Naomi. So thank you for taking on the job. Okay. Because again, I'm ready to figure out where June come from and what her purpose is, aside from being a dependent on their taxes next year. Okay. So now we move on to Haley. She's made her way back to Bill's office, and she lets him know that, she went to see Naomi trying to find out what was going on. And Bill actually looks a little pissed off learning that she went to his daughter. Okay. And so Haley said, look, I asked her about Nicole being so angry with you and how Martin fits into it. And Bill tells her, look, Nicole is in a highly emotional state and says, so out of respect for her, I'm going to keep it very vague. Okay. So he explains to Haley that, there was an unfortunate passing that took place 2 years ago. And I happened to get involved after the fact. He tells her that it was a matter of self-defense. And so Haley's still trying to figure out, well, how is Martin connected? So Bill tells her, so Martin called the press conference. He was going to address it, but then he figured out he didn't need to. End of story. The end. Are you done? Are you done asking questions? Okay. And so Haley is like, well, I know that's not the whole truth. And Bill said, well, you know what? This is not my story, and I'm sharing with you what I can. Okay. So Haley said, oh, well, you know what, Bill? It's okay, because I know you love me and you'll do anything to protect me and our ghost baby. All right. So and so then Bill tells her, look, I know I don't tell you every single detail, and it's basically for your own good, but he does reassure her that I don't unalive people. Okay, that's not what I do. What I will tell you is I can snap my fingers and have it done. Okay. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay. Um, And so, yeah, that was pretty much the end of Friday's episode 98 of Beyond the Gates. Y'all, I know you're going to drop down in the comments on this one. Try to let everybody be respectful. I know a lot of people are very passionate, upset about Catherine. Now we on your government name status, okay? Because we're so disappointed in you. But we can't really be disappointed in her. She got fooled by F boy, and that's what F boys do, right? If you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button. Make sure that you guys comment and make sure that you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live and when I'm dropping all of these lovely recaps for you guys. Make sure you're following us on all the platforms, the TikTok, IG, Facebook, Blue Sky, and the Twitter, y'all. And I will catch you Monday. And don't forget, we're still going to have the live next week, but things might be a little slippery because y'all know Martha's Vineyard is next week. Not next week, but going into the weekend. So I'm going to try to bang out Monday through Friday every day so that I'm not behind, because I feel like Friday I'm going to be on the road. So I might not even be able to give that to y'all till Saturday. I got to plan it out, but I'm going to work it out. Okay. So y'all get y'all, dosage of Beyond the Gates. Okay. I will catch y'all Monday. Have a good one. Have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe. Be blessed. Bye-bye.